So folks, we were planning to start with this segment, but we'll switch back now that Venk is here. Venk is a very experienced investor in Silicon Valley, and we're going to discuss his thoughts on what's happening in the AI universe, the trends, and how he is thinking about investing in AI, and where is the market going? Where is the startup market going? Where is the, what the different trends are that inform our decisions as entrepreneurs and investors to work in this field. Welcome, Venk. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Ramna.
So, Venk, what are you thinking about as you look at the AI universe? How are you parsing all the different developments? It's all coming at us very fast, obviously. So, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting you say it's coming very fast. In fact, when it comes to generative AI, it's not very fast. In fact, you see, after ChatGPT came out, you see, in November of 2022.
Yeah.
I had expected, you see, the pace of innovation to be, a lot higher, and we are still stuck, you see, in the same sort of underlying technology constraint, you see, that transformer architecture uses, which is probabilistic, which means full of hallucination.
Yes.
And I had expected that by this time there would be some breakthrough that would take us away from hallucination, and that's what limits its use in enterprise. In enterprise, you see, you cannot have probabilistic answers or wrong answers. You have to get it right. I mean, there are some enterprise applications where hallucination or probabilistic answers are okay, which is, like natural language. If you're using it as a natural language front end, then it doesn't matter, you see, if the words are used are different or the expression is different, and if you don't get the semantics exactly right, that context is okay. But if you are saying that which sales guy, see, exceeded the forecast, you see, in the last 2 quarters, you cannot have hallucination there.
Yeah. So
So
hallucination remains a big roadblock for sure. And in some of we've done probably 15 such conversations already with the investors and discussed what's happening in their portfolios. One theme that is coming up is the theme of small language models to constrain hallucinations. So, many of the vertical AI solutions, you don't really need the full power of the large language model. It's good to have the large language model capabilities to be able to tackle natural language, but when it comes to domain-specific training, that's a relatively small domain-specific knowledge that would be relevant for a particular vertical, a particular customer, and that may be sufficient, and that may be a very good way to contain hallucination. Of course, there are architecture issues. Is this something that is coming up in your portfolio or in your conversations?
Yeah. I mean, I think we have some deep technologists you see on our team. These are the guys that he used to probably get millions of dollars of salaries you see at Google, and two of those guys are you see on our team. So we we get pretty deep into technology when companies present to us.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious that even the small language model thing, so long as the underlying architecture is the same transformer architecture, the hallucination issue doesn't entirely go away. I think the only way to get over it is to have a human in the loop, and otherwise it really does not go away. And so the benefit of having a small language model really is the cost of training and cost of inference. You see, goes down, you see, a lot, but it doesn't get around the hallucination issue.
So you're saying small language models you're also seeing small language models hallucinating?
Has to. I mean, it is the same transformer architecture which is based on probability.
The human in the loop theme is also coming up a lot in our discussions, and some people are trying to get around the problem by putting a human in the loop. And in some cases, it may work, but if you're really working with very big data, can human in the loop solve the hallucination problem?
Well, it's better than not having a human in the loop, right? I mean, because you don't know if it's hallucinating or not. So if you have a huge data set and you are saying that, okay, I have 100 sales guys all over the world, and I just want to know which one has given is he, better than quota performance in the last 2 quarters. So if it comes up with a name, some human can immediately verify if this particular individual did indeed exceed the quota in the last 2 months. That's how you verify.
Understood. But now let's switch that to a different case study. Let's look at the medical domain, which is very high potential, right, for generative AI. There's so much medical information on which you can train physicians, telemedicine providers, etc. But if that starts to hallucinate, is the human in the loop completely capable of catching that?
Well, I think that's actually a very, very good case of using, generative AI because ultimately it's the doctor who's going to make a judgment, who write a prescription, and do the diagnosis. He will use this as a way, to help
Right?
him or her. So that's an excellent, case study of a human in the loop because all that you are doing is doing all the grunt work for him, looking at all the test reports to see all the latest research, all the studies that are going on, and based on that, it says, given these symptoms, given these lab tests, given all the state of the art in this thing, chances are that this is this or is he one of these two, and then the physician is he can exercise his or her judgment. That's a very, very good case study, of how generative AI could be useful, in the healthcare industry.
I completely agree with you. The question that I'm still skeptical about is if there is that much data that it's processing and bringing something to the doctor, in that moment, the doctor has to make a judgment call. And we are assuming then the doctor has more knowledge than the generative AI, and that is not true
No,
for the
he'll
most
never
part.
have more
You'll never
knowledge.
have more knowledge than generative AI.
Never have more knowledge than generative AI because the amount of data that's being processed and the speed with which is being processed, a human cannot deal with it. But based on the data, based on all these things, if it comes up with something that the training, the doctor says that it makes no sense to me. The diagnosis
Yeah,
is
if it's
absolutely
obvious, then it's
innocent.
fine. Maybe first degree, second degree, it's fine. But at the
Yeah,
moment
yeah.
it gets to complexity, I think it's medicine actually is a dangerous place where I don't think this problem is managed yet.
But I think that's actually a very good place to use generative
A
AI
great place
because
to use it. It is the place where it should use. At the same time, the hallucination problem has to be contained there.
right, right.
You
But because
cannot let AI hallucinate in medicine.
yeah, yeah. But then you have a human in the loop. You have an expert in
You
the
do
loop.
have a human in the loop, but the human is not equipped to catch. That's my issue.
Yeah, yeah. But he's applying some judgment. He's
Partial,
applying
partial.
some judgment based on his years and years of study and expertise. So I think that's a much better use case than an enterprise one, where
So where are you investing, Venk? What have you invested in generative AI companies?
you know.
What has passed the smell test of where you can get around the problems and actually can go to market with something interesting and maybe with a human in the loop? A lot of investors we've talked to are only investing in human in the loop companies.
Yeah, yeah. So we have actually, interestingly, we invested in a generative AI company before that expression entered popular culture. So we invested in company in October of 2022, a month before ChatGPT came out.
Mhm.
And it's a team from NVIDIA, and they are using uh, generative AI to essentially make digital humans, a 3D digital humans
Mm-hmm.
that can essentially interact, you see, with with the person on the other side, and and perform functions or answer questions, or guide them in terms of, obviously, what they need to do. So initially we thought that the application would be in gaming. In fact, Jensen Wong, in his keynote, uh, highlighted the demo of this startup for 5 minutes in his famous keynote, which was watched by 7 million people.
Uh-huh.
So we thought, and that was a gaming application where someone walks. Today in gaming, for every character's action, reaction, emotions, everything has to be pre-programmed, which is, which you cannot take care of, anticipate all situations and program for everything. That's why some of those things, you see, are very tightly constrained. So this thing allows that you don't need to pre-program anything. And based on a backstory of the character, if you say that this guy is like Rocky Sylvester Stallone, then if you say how you feeling, is not likely to give a stream of consciousness. You see, a long answer, he will just say, yeah, or get out of here, or something like that, right? So those kind of things, you don't have to be pre-programmed. And so we thought the application would be in the gaming, and we have been surprised how it is finding use in enterprise applications. So Unilever, you see, has probably across its thing has about 20, 30 brands of shampoos. If someone wants to know which shampoo to use, uh, so then this character interacts, you see, with the person in a way as if it's really a human talking to another human,
Yeah.
and finding out this thing, and then say, okay, it's this. Or NASA is using it to train, astronauts for a life on Mars. And So these are the kind of use cases that we had not thought of. But the digital human, where you are interacting, you see, with someone on the other side, and it has human-like, language capabilities, human-like intonations, a human-like movement, and knows everything that is to be known on that subject.
But it's not built on generative AI. It's built on
It
your own.
is no, it is generative. It's a classic case of generative AI.
So then how are you dealing with hallucination in that context?
Their hallucination really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter uh, because if you're talking about shampoos and there are 35 shampoos, and say, okay, tell me, if do you have a dry hair or not? And he says, yes, I do. So based on that, it goes on a different path. So hallucination there does not matter because it does not depend on extracting uh, a data or a piece of information, or making a recommendation that could go horribly wrong.
Mm. Okay, but in the Mars case study, it could go horribly wrong, no?
Well, I think there it is, essentially, I've not seen that. I've just seen a quick demo of it, but I've not really uh, gotten into in any depth. But I think the Mars thing is about how do you deal with the environment. So if you see this, how do you react to it? If you see, if you have this kind of weather, how do you react to it? That's the kind of a use that it is being put to.
Okay, so it's non-mission critical use cases are good for is one thing you're saying, because this is not a human in the loop example. You have taken the human out of the loop, and that is the benefit of it.
Exactly. So in this case, where it's not catastrophic,
Right.
if it makes a decision, it's not a catastrophic disaster.
Yeah.
Uh, but the medical example we discussed
It's
would be
catastrophic.
right, and that's why you
Absolutely.
need to have that physician in the loop.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Any other portfolio companies that you would like to discuss where we can see some of these? I mean, what you provided is a good framework, right? Generative AI hallucination is acceptable without human in the loop if it's non-mission critical. If it is mission critical, we need human in the loop. But even with human in the loop, it's not, human in the loop is necessary but not sufficient to control hallucination, especially in a case, in a situation like medical. It really can be dangerous.
Yeah.
So those are good heuristics. Is there another case study that we can do?
Well, I think, the interesting thing is that after we made that investment and after ChatGPT came, you must have seen at least 100 companies claiming to be using generative AI, at least 100. And the entire last year, we did not invest in a single generative AI company because most of the ones that we saw were really some wrappers, thin wrappers on top of ChatGPT. And we didn't think that there was a fundamental sustainable differentiation over a long, long period of time. So, so quite interestingly enough, last year we did not invest in a single generative AI company. We invested in AI companies,
Yeah.
but not in a generative AI companies. And now we are getting ready to actually invest in two companies. One is in the medical space, and one is in the sales marketing space.
And you're not yet interested in discussing those two that you're about to invest in?
No, we could talk about it. I think one
Okay.
of them is
I would
one of
love to
them.
know about what passed the um, due diligence.
Yeah. So one one company is essentially trying to come up with a next generation uh, of electronic health records. Uh,
Okay.
Today, with in all large practices use something called Epic or Cerner.
Yes.
And those, I mean, I think if you talk to any doctor, the number one frustration that a doctor or a nurse has is number of clicks they have to make, and they are so idiotic, and amount of time they have to spend entering data.
Yeah. Old architecture, clunky user interface,
And
very,
so,
very old systems.
so this is where generative AI comes in. So if someone is coming to you, if you're dealing with a patient, you have the entire history of that patient you see with you, and you have the test receipt that has been done on that patient. You know that it's a 18-year-old male with this kind of a thing. Now the number of choices you have, you don't present, say, 20 boxes where the doctor has to choose one of those boxes to tick. Now you know that it's an 18-year-old and he has this history. Now you present, you see, only two choices to the doctor. So he can click on one of those two, and that takes him to a completely different path. And if it takes him to the path where he doesn't have to make another 20 clicks, you see, to get to the point, to write to write a prescription, he doesn't have to do 14 clicks.
Mm.
Uh, so that's the so for instance, if it's a 18-year-old, you see, with a particular history of some disease, and the test is to confirm that, then all that here the AI has to do is, given this context, given this thing, here are the choices, and the doctor picks one of those. Here are the things to prescribe, and he picks one of them, and then it's gone.
Have they
That's
been able to move Epic out of medical systems?
I think Epic is the 800-pound gorilla,
Yeah.
and the large systems, if you don't make changes is easily
Huge exit barrier.
huge. So they will have to follow what Salesforce did when it started. It went to small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
When I was at Magma, we were almost the first customer of Salesforce, and at that time, Magma was, I think, about 20 million revenue company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we were one of the first users of Salesforce. And once it accumulated enough of these customers, then it had to accommodate them. It had to add more and more features and this and this. So over time, it was able to migrate to enterprise customers because it had built all the features that anyone could ever demand.
Yeah.
So this will go through the same kind of a path.
Okay. And what is the other one?
The other one is we have not finished with the diligence there. It's in the sales and marketing phase where it enhances the efficacy of BDRs. BDRs typically write tons of emails every day
Yeah.
to customers, and they try to customize it as much as they can. This one takes as much information as it can from public records, and the company records to essentially suggest, a draft.
So
And
it's a BDR writing assistant, business development rep writing assistant.
right, right. And there it doesn't need to be a human in the loop because nothing is catastrophic. If you're sending 100 of those emails, even if two, three, or four, or five of those are wrong, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Good. Very good. Um, what other AI companies have you invested in that are non-generative AI? But let's do a last example before we move back to the entrepreneur pitch session.
Okay.
Let's talk about, because I've on our platform we've been covering AI startups actually aggressively since 2016, and it was long before generative AI hit the popular consciousness, and there are very substantial AI companies that have been built with AI, not necessarily generative AI. So I do believe that there is a huge opportunity still in AI, not just generative AI.
Yeah. So we invested in one company that is enabling medium-sized businesses to have fully functional supply chain systems. Today, supply chain is so complicated that only the large enterprises really have a good system for that because it needs the access to you need to have inventory management systems, you need to have access to financials, you need to have this and this in order for you to do a good supply chain. So medium-sized businesses that don't already have installation of all these complex tools, it's enabling using AI to build their own supply chain systems to essentially to predict. So it's for demand forecasting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Based on the demand forecasting, figuring out, inventory management, figuring out, how long it takes to deliver something to point A, how much inventory they should have in a warehouse, which warehouse, and all
Mm-hmm.
of those kind of things.
Okay.
And they're using AI for that. They're using AI to detect demand signals.
Okay.
And this is something that by doing by using AI for demand signals, uh, they are getting around the need to have uh, massive, installations of, let's say, SAP in the company where it looks at all the different things to figure out to see the demand signals. Here it is using AI for doing precisely that.
So this is competing with SAP.
This is competing, with supply chain solutions that are built on top of SAP or require a presence of SAP before they can be useful.
I see. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Okay, Venk, is there anything else that you would like to discuss apropos AI investment strategy, investment thesis? We will continue the conversation. We'll bring you back a few months, maybe in a year or so, to exchange notes. But for this conversation, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think these are pretty exciting times, and and uh, we are far, far away from artificial general intelligence.
Oh
We
yeah,
are
and
far,
it's not even relevant, right? Who cares?
yeah,
Artificial
yeah.
general intelligence is not important to solve most of the enterprise use cases, so we don't
I'll,
need to worry about it right now.
I'll tell you, talking about enterprise, I had a very insightful conversation with a CIO of a big company, and I asked him about, what kind of use cases are you what kind of seeing your thing you're implementing AI on. And he was very blunt. He said, don't bring any AI to me. We bring only that AI to me that eliminates white collar jobs.
Mm.
Is it?
It's a very interesting point, actually, that, early, before AI really became big in the popular consciousness, the fear was it's the blue collar jobs that are going to be automated by AI. But where we are seeing the AI uptick is actually in white collar jobs.
Well, generative AI is enabling that, and you see that in customer center, uh, those situations where a lot of low-level interaction is getting automated.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you
and
just missed Santosh's presentation, which was an excellent generative AI customer service application presentation. It was really, really interesting. But in software development, one of the real discussions that we're having everywhere right now is how much of software development can be automated, how much of enhancement of junior software developers can happen because of AI, because there is human in the loop. Then if you equip that human with lots of great tools, this can, AI can make software engineers incredibly productive, and as a result, you will need a lot fewer of them. So
yeah,
there's
including generation of test cases to for your thing. That's a very
testing
popular
should be
use cases.
completely automated. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
Great.
thank you, Venk. Thank you. Very insightful conversation. We will circle back.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.